Alright, so I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of my review schedule and such. But I did want to get some thoughts out there for this season. Cumber, what are you doing? Some thoughts out there for this season as to what we have. Colonel Lucian. That's interesting. Nah. Lockwards. What I think of the new season and that. So first of all, I think the positives are mostly going to come in the form of what I would consider your quality of life changes. So, examples of what I mean by this. Uber uniques, or the quote-unquote mythic uniques, have their own color. Now, when I go and I farm Duriel, I'm not having to pick up all the loot desperately and sort through going, did I get it, did I get it? Now it's purple, I see it right away, you know, hey, I'm enjoying it. That's a nice change of pace. The way that they change the Uber unique drops is also a very big positive. Now it only takes 1 Stygian instead of 2. This effectively doubles the amount of tormented runs you can do, which, given the rarity of Stygians, that's fantastic. I also like the fact that each of the 5 guaranteed drops has their own individual Uber unique drop rates. Now this means that you have the potential to drop 5 Uber uniques, obviously. The chance of that happening is the chance of winning the lottery, though. Getting 1 to drop is like pulling teeth anyways. But the fact that it is possible for multiples to drop now, as opposed to 1 per run, is fantastic. Other quality of life to talk about. Hearts are now the only thing needed to summon Varshan, as opposed to before, where you had all those body parts and you needed to have 1 of each, which meant if you had too many of one, that's fine. Now, heads, hands, and femurs will still drop, and you can come over and trade them 1 for 1 at the Alchemist for hearts. Great, fantastic, love it, especially that's 1 for 1. My only problem is that it costs 5 hearts now to summon 1 Varshan, as opposed to 4 of the body parts. Although I guess that's the price that you have to pay if you want it just to be 1 currency. Fine, whoop-de-doo. Next quality of life change that they gave to the bosses has to do with Beast in the Ice. Beast in the Ice is now no longer a nightmare dungeon. This is a bit of a negative just because, you know, it is nice having the Paragon at the end, but I'll bitch about that later. It is, however, very reassuring that I can just horse out of Kivishad straight over to Glacial Fissure, walk a very short distance through the dungeon and kill him. No more, it takes just as long to kill him, or to walk through the dungeon as it does to kill him. You can kill him in like 2 to 3 hits, as opposed to now, you know, I don't have to walk all the distance. I just kill him 2 to 3 hits. Thank God for that. In addition, they pulled yellows out of the pool for bosses, which is good because most of them were just going to get sold for gold anyways. So, you get more gold in exchange for it, you're only getting legendaries, and you're only getting uniques out of it. That is good. I like that change. That's really it for quality of life. That's all I gotta say. I guess the other thing you could say is that if you put a pin on something, other players in your party will be able to see that pin. That's very helpful, so now I don't have to worry about, like, putting a pin up, having a friend of mine put their pin on top of it so they can get there. We can all just use the same pin. Nice, handy dandy. Yeah, that's it for quality of life, really. Helldived didn't really get any big major changes, which kind of sucked. Now, I was jumping for joy when the new event comes. What we're going to do is I'm going to run a new event, and I'm going to show you some of the problems that I have. So basically now, you get this little side quest, you get to do these compasses. Alright, let's go do a compass. Now, these compasses work like Nightmare Dungeons, obviously. Now, I was jumping for joy because I thought, oh great, we're getting the season event, Because this is a rather lackluster season. This is basically just last season where they reworked Helltide. They're doing the same thing here. As you can see, this is just very easy, because this is at my level, and I'm over-leveled as fuck. So obviously this is going to be easy. Now, I'm going to wait until we clear this first wave in order to explain the problem that I have with it. But basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to gather this ether material. And this ether material is your currency, so to speak, for the event. That's not where I wanted it to go, but okay. You're on a timer, and you can do these events in that. I'm not ready. The events will disappear at the end, though. Okay. Then you get this little roguelike mechanic where you pick. Now, this is the first complaint that I have. I'm playing with one person, which means that by playing with one person, I get to pick whichever one I want. I'm going to pick this just so I can move along. In multiple party ones, whoever picks first gets it. That to me is a problem, because I think it should be more of a vote system than anything. That can be really annoying to deal with. Whoa, I was not expecting to lose that much health. Did you do these little events? Now I have 60 ether. Now 60 ether is the minimum that you're going to need for what I bitch about at the end. Spawn a mass. Soul Spider grant you ether. Hellborn grant 1 ether. Let's go for this. Easy. This is a light tier. Not anything major because I want to be able to talk over it and get through. I don't want to have to focus too much. Now, the fact that I'm level 100 isn't showing you the amount of experience that this gives. So this does give a good amount of experience. Kung Pao, get off the cord. Why? Why do you do this every time, buddy? I prefer not to get picked up by you. Get... That's an ether math. I want to take that out. Alright. You can see you could chew through these a decent amount of time. Some of these are terrible. Some of these choices, by the way, are terrible. Which, again, this is part of the problem with the fact that anybody, whoever hits the button first, basically, gets to control what it's gonna be. But for a mechanic that I strongly suspect that they whip together in like seconds. To me, it doesn't seem like there's that much thought that was put into it. I didn't get it in time. $106, not really doing much. Ether Fiends exploding damage. Hellborn. I do Hellfire. Why not? Alright, so we're on wave 5. So we have 2 waves to go, basically. So we have this one and we have one more. You have to stoop. If you're trying to, like, hunt these, you have to super stay active. Last wave. This movement speed one is personally the bane of my existence because, again, playing with other people really makes this unfun to play against. Because you'll have like a rogue on your team that literally it ignores any type of slowdown that's in the game. And they'll just pick that automatically. That's super unfun if you're a non-mobility based class. You see, I'm trying to go for these events. Even on level 100 difficulty, it can still be quite a challenge. That is just so many lunatics for seemingly no reason. So, now, I didn't get much of a reward for doing that. Then you have the Fell Council. I call them the Fey Council. Blame Baldur's Gate. Now you go kill the council from D2, which is harder than it is, which is easier than it is in D2. I kind of wish it was the D2 boss fight. This dude right here, Wirid the Shadow, he's really the hard one of the bunch, honestly. Never mind, he's dead. Where are you at, dude? Kill him, pick up your ether. Now, this is where I have problems. Alright? So we can start to talk a little bit. Alrighty. Now, you notice I brought an extra compass with me. There's a reason for that. Let's start. So you need to get at least 60 ether in order to open this Spoils of Greater Equipment. What this does on a tier 3, it guarantees you at least 1 greater affix, and it has a higher drop rate for the uniques. All of the new uniques they introduced are stuck behind this chest. You get to buy one of these. I'm gonna spend my 60 ether. I didn't get the unique. I got 2 uniques that dropped with greater affixes. Well, let's go take a look at those. Lightning resist, trash. Intelligence, trash. Now you notice here there's also some new aspects that are here as well. 2 slide steps, wow. This is Wild Bolt, that's Creeping Death, Wild Bolt, slide steps. You notice they're all the new unique aspects. Well, because this one right here, which you can only buy 1 time, and is the only way you can get those uniques, this is bullshit. Alright, now you can keep rebuying this spoils of equipment. Don't ever do that. It costs 20. It drops you 2 regular aspects, basically. Now, these can be any aspects. It's not going to have graders, and it's not going to have the uniques in there. This is a waste of your money. Now, you can also grab this spoils of material. What makes this broken? Fragments, fragments. Look, oopdicite. You can get pit farming materials out of here. And the higher you go, the better they get. So yes, right now I'm getting all this oopdicite. But this means you don't have to run the pit, which I'll talk about. I also got a scroll, which I'll need to pick that up in a minute as well. Now, I don't have enough for another one. So you have all your remaining ether, which goes into the spoils of gold. You want to see how much gold you get? I have 15. That is not a lot. Not even 1 million in gold. Now, I dropped 150 ether in there one time, and I got exactly 2 million gold. It is bullshit and a waste of your time, but it is nice so that your ether doesn't go to waste. Now, why did I bring the extra compass in here? Alrighty, you see these scrolls? You can't take these scrolls with you. You can't put them in the stash. You can't take them out and leave. You can only use them in this dungeon. It doesn't say that anywhere in here. What do these scrolls do? These scrolls let you upgrade one of these compasses to the next tier, which increases its difficulty and increases the better drop rates. That's what you can do. And if you don't bring the extra compass with you, and an extra compass doesn't drop, guess what happens? Well, you don't get a reward. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the world bosses over here. I got a couple minutes on that. So, the new aspects are primarily going to drop from this event, meaning you need to do this event in order to get the new aspects, get the new uniques, and keep pushing yourself up higher and higher. The fact that you can do pit, get pit materials there, means you can ignore the pit at large. Okay, fine. The fact that you get more experience from Nightmare Dungeons is also another problem. Okay. Just upgraded those, and I'll sell the rest of these because these are now worthless to me.
Fair trade.
As none of these are higher rolls. Now, I already have a problem doing Nightmare Dungeons. Because Nightmare Dungeons take forever to level up. Now, you'll notice all of the ones I'm using on this character are level 21. That takes a long time to do. All of these other glyphs I'm not really going to worry about because I'm not using them unless I need to pivot. The problem is, once again, so you now have Helltide, which is better for leveling. You have Pit, which is situationally better for leveling. I'm not really going to get too much into that. And now we have Infernal Compasses, which are now better at leveling. The game is doing absolutely everything in its power to take you out of Nightmare Dungeons, which is fine if Nightmare Dungeons weren't a required part of the game. They take forever to level your Paragon glyphs up. You have to get 21 levels. Most builds are going to run between 4 and 6. I don't even know if it's possible to run 7. I mean, theoretically, I think it is, but I mean, getting the bonus. Most builds are going to run 5. Almost every single build runs 5. And there's a couple that get away with 4 because they want, like, all the legendary nodes and stuff like that. But I'm going to do this world boss on stream as well because I want to showcase something on the world boss. But that's not the point. So, another problem that you have comes with the codex. Alright. So all of the old tempering manuals that they removed because they reworked, I had to go and regrind. Now, particularly on Barbarian, this was a pain. On Barbarian, it wouldn't drop me what I needed. That was annoying. Now, the new legendary aspects, you have to go out, you have to acquire them, you have to put them in your codex, obviously. So, where is my problem? Well, the Diablo developers have once again not learned anything from their player base because we keep telling them, you need to give us ways to add more character slots, more loadouts, more equipment slots, something. You cannot keep every single patch introducing newer and newer and newer gear and not doing anything. So, I will give you a great example. I am playing a Bone Spear Necromancer, and the only piece of my kit that was missing was the Grandfather. I needed to get a Grandfather, and I was going to move over the aspect that I had, which was splintering from my two-hander to another slot. Fine and dandy. Why am I complaining? Well, you notice I'm not running Sacrilegious Soul. I was running Sacrilegious Soul, but since they neutered it with the new unique change, I switched it over to Dark Dance. Because the new unique change actually did more harm than good for some uniques. For some uniques that weren't seeing play, it's fantastic. For uniques that were seeing play, it's terrible. Now, you notice I have a decent ring right here, and I put Dark Dance on it. That's because this is a new aspect that's power crept in. Every season, they introduce new aspects that power creep their way into the kit. So, an example. My old Bone Spear build didn't run Metamorphosis. When Season 3 came and they introduced Metamorphosis as a power, I was running Tybalt's Will Metamorphosis. In Season 4, they introduced Undying, which replaced Tybalt's Will. The blood boiling aspect that they introduced in Season, I forget if it was 2 or 3, became a mainstay in any build that does overpower whatsoever. The buff to Hardened Bones, giving you the damage reduction on top of your minions, means every single Necromancer is now also running Hardened Bones. Every patch comes by and they introduce more and more and more uniques and legendary powers that become mandatory for certain builds. I mean, an example as Summon Mancers, pure Summon Mancers can no longer function. Pure Summon Mancers now have a new piece that they need to add. Aspect of the Great Feast, which makes it so that your minions deal double damage, but drain 2 essence per second. Put this on a two-hander and it's 90% damage, but it drains 2 essence per second. With a Cult Dominion and a Golem, so you have 13 minions, or I'm sorry, 12 minions, that means you lose 24 essence per second. 24 essence per second. That's like me every second just chucking out 2 Bone Spears a second. See? That's a problem. But if you were a Summon Mancer, you now have to put that in your build. Because that's 90%, 45 to 90, call it that, damage for your build. You know, another example of what I'm talking about with some of these mandatory things that they introduce into the game. Creeping Death. Creeping Death is a new damage over time build. Any poison, shadow, fire DOT adds Creeping Death. There's another one. Where is it? Inevitable Fate. Inevitable Fate. This is basically G-False. Now, I have a poison build druid that's just utterly broken because of it. I was using attack speed. I had Rapid and Moonrise. Yeah, I took both of those off. I don't need either of those because I have Inevitable Fate. I have Creeping Death. I have a G-False. I have an Andes. I have Virulent Rabies. I have, what's that thing there? Flesh Render. I have all of these ways to trigger damage over time, so now poison is just absolutely ridiculous. Rogues, which didn't need any more help to be busted, are more busted than ever. Speaking of balance, Rogue got a minor neuter, Barbarian got a major neuter because they killed the Barbarian key passes. Okay, non-Barbarian to show you. But all 4 of the Barbarian key passives got nerfed, in addition to some of the other Barbarian builds. Now, the problem is they keep over-tuning Barbarian. They're never going to fix it. All they're doing is making Barbarian more and more unfun to play. Now, one of the changes that they did is that you get increased skill damage on Druid, Sorcerer, and Necromancer. Your main stat contributes 1% per 8. And on Rogue, it's 1% per 9. Barbarian still 1% per 10. On top of that, they nerfed the Barbarian aspects. And they nerfed Barbarian powers. And they nerfed Paragon powers. Some of the nerfs I don't have a problem with, like the Infinite Flame Shield Sorceress being gone. I'm fine with that being gone. Heartseeker got toned down a little bit on Rogue. I'm fine with that, although it's leading to 2 more, even more annoying metas on that. My problem is this. You can't balance Barbarian right now. You wanna know why? Barbarian gets, at minimum, 2 extra slots. Why? Barbarian gets to carry 4 weapons. Now, if I were to drop my grandfather and run a one-hander and an offhand, I'm still 2 weapons short. That's 2 whole slots. The majority of the time, your rings are going to be dedicated towards offensive. Your amulet's going to be dedicated towards offensive, because most of the time, you're going to run a 2-handed weapon. And God forbid if you run a unique, which is mandatory for some builds, you'll struggle even more. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Blizzard, listen to me. It's really not that hard to balance Barbarian. Don't nerf Barbarian. Stop nerfing Barbarian. Okay? Stop nerfing Rogue. Which I can't believe I'm saying that because I hate Rogue. I understand you're doing it preemptively because you want people to buy Spiritborn, because Spiritborn looks busted as fuck, with the ability to have near 100% block, near 100% dodge, and apply all these damage over time, damage reductions, and slows. What do? Give us more equipment slots. If every class could equip an offhand, you could add 2 new slots to Necromancer, Druid, and Sorceress right now. You could equip a belt and an offhand, okay? The belt would specifically be for healing-related defensives, okay? Separate the defensive category. So something like Undying, because it heals you, would go on the belt.
Greetings.
I'm fine with that. This is also what could affect your potion slot, similar to how it worked in D2, and that would take some of the emphasis away from having certain pants and stuff like that. Then, from your belt, you would have an offhand. Now, Necromancers would get a shield only. I think you could put something offensive on that shield, by the way. Just be clear. Sorcerers could get a focus. Druids get a totem. This gives us an extra offensive slot for each class in the game. For Necromancer, it gives you a little extra detail. Why? Why can you not just do that? Rogue would also get the belt, they just wouldn't get the offhand. Now, they also made world bosses much harder. They added this tag on it called Resilient, as you can see. A lot of people haven't been able to figure out what Resilient does. So it's 60% flat damage reduction, and then it's another 5% damage reduction per person, up to 90%. Because, for example, I have a grandfather right now, and you can see I am not doing any damage. I have a grandfather and a near 100% crit build. Almost everybody here is 100. There is that 183. A 99. Everybody here, for the most part, though, is 100. So I'm glad the world boss is not dying instantaneously in one shot. I like it being a longer fight. I like it not being a loot pinata. I might want to be one of the only people that enjoys it not being a loot pinata. Let's be clear. But most of the people I've talked to are like, oh man, this sucks. We actually have to kill it now. Yes. Yes, you should want to have to kill it now. Your stagger meter is just a flat 60%. That doesn't scale anymore. After this, when I go back to town, I'll cover the unique changes a little bit. You see, like, my top end crits are only in like 300,000 range. See how little damage you're doing to world bosses now? This is nice, because it definitely does make it more challenging. That being said, I do wish it was a little bit less. Like, I'm fine with the health the way it is and the damage the way it is. My main knock against it would be make it a little bit easier to stagger. That lets crowd control builds do a bit more damage against it. Crowd control builds are kind of suffering right now. At least against world bosses in Pacific. It's a double Greater Affix ring. Alright, let's go to Cheer Whispers. The last thing I'm going to touch on before I cut the video is some of the unique changes. Now, farming uniques has obviously been harder, mostly because I have had terrible, absolutely terrible luck when it comes to farming bosses. For example, farming Varshan has, on Druid, dropped me like 12 copies of fricking Adria's Exordinate Will, which got basically no changes to it. But any of the other ones I actually needed, like Great Staff of the Crone or Mad Wolf's Glee, they just sat there in my face, staring at me like, no, we're not gonna give it to you. You don't need us. That's an upgrade. That's an upgrade. And that's a transmog. Alright. Alright, let's see what we got here. What a value do I have? Maximum life and intelligence mace. Might keep it for somebody else. Crit damage. Okay, that's pretty good. Resource cost and vulnerable damage. I do like that. I do have somebody in mind for that, actually. So, wow. 3 actually decent rings. I'll get rid of these two. I'm really not going to use that mace for anybody, so I'll get rid of the mace, I guess. But, let's talk about the uniques, and let's talk about what they did to some of the uniques that makes them seemingly unfun to play against. So, this is Vasilis, because I don't have all the uniques. This is Vasilis, this is the new one. This is okay in my opinion. I like that it fortifies you for percent, rather than a flat amount. I like that it gives you armor. A defensive posture is giving you, defensive posture gives you fortifying the druid tree. My only knock against it is that the maximum life roll is a little bit low for what the build wants to be, although I guess they want you to get a greater affix. And I do miss the lightning resistance on it. And as you can see, this is the old one. The old one was actually a bit more powerful because it had a resistance on it. Damage while shape-shifted is additive, but you're always going to be shape-shifted because you're always in Werebear. You're going to pair this with Insatiable Fury. The overpower damage is very good because Earth Werebear wants that. Maximum life roll is the same. I think they could have bumped that up. All in all, I think it's okay. Another example would be Adria's Exorbitant Will. There we go. This is a new one. The stats on it are all the same. They just significantly increase the roll ranges on it. I'm fine with that. This was a pretty good unique if you ran an ultimate skill. Synergizes very well with Cataclysm. So, I'm fine with that. People have been squawking about Fists of Fate a lot. Fists of Fate is good, but I also don't like the roll ranges on it. You know, you have the Lucky Hit up to a 51% chance to apply the crowd control. You have Lucky Hit up to 51% chance, but the bottom roll range is terrible. 1%, 0.1, 0.1. They really are completely random. I also would have preferred if Fists of Fate, if they took the bottom line stat up from 1%. If the bottom line stat was, say, 50%, I would maybe consider using these. As it stands right now, I'm still never going to use these, even in 100% Lucky Hit builds, just because my attack randomly rolls 1%, even with Lucky Hit, and I'm fucked. Other changes. Now, obviously, they tried to break the Ubers again, make the Ubers good. This is what the grandfather looks like. They removed Ignore Durability Loss in the main, thank God. And they gave it 150% base damage, which is fine. They started adding inherits to certain things, like Andariel's has 666% poison resist on it. The new aspect that they added, this is Lochran's Talisman. This is dog shit. This is absolutely terrible. Now, you might look at this and say, well, why is it terrible? So, read the effects. So, it's your skills gain 0.38%, called 0.4, critical strike chance per point of primary resource you have. So, at 100 primary resource, you are getting 40% critical strike chance. Okay, if you're trying to go for a 100% critical strike chance build, I guess that's fine. Each point of primary resource above 100 grants you 0.2 critical strike damage instead. Let's say I have 200 maximum resource. Okay? That means I get the 40% bonus, and the extra 100 is giving me now 20% critical strike damage. Now, the problem with that is there's one build that's supposed to synergize with this, which would be a Banishlord Talisman build. But Banishlord Talisman is also a unique. So, why am I running this? I can't run this alongside it. This is directly competing with Banishlord instead, which is giving me a guaranteed crit overpower that deals 60% more damage, instead of this, which is giving me 40% crit chance and potentially 20% crit damage or more. And even then, in a Bone Spirit build, I don't think I would run this on its own. I'd probably run Grasping Veins in the Amulet slot. Honestly. The maximum resource is nice, but it's not all that. Like, there's some other changes. Tassus of the Dawning Sky moves more towards the Tyrael's Might. They did a lot of these changes to add resist to all elements, like Lycander has it, Tyrael's has it. It's a nice change, because they're trying to get you... What they're trying to get you to do is they're trying to get you to have less resistances on your gear, and they want you to either use your Paragon board for resistances, like I did. Where is it? Like this. I have Shadow Resist covered through this. Or they want you to use the gems, which I understand that. But some of these changes are just abysmal, especially from what I've seen. Some of these are nice, some of these are abysmal. Do I have any of the new stuff? Bloodless Stream is okay. I like it getting intelligence. Freeze duration's okay, but it's still not that great. Lucky Hit chance sucks ass. Plus Darkness Kills is good. I like that they bumped up the stats on almost everything. Some of these make no sense. 100,000 steps got nerfed to the ground. They took ranks of ground stomp off and replaced it with ground stomp size. And they took multi-dodge off of it, which makes it worthless. Now, yes, you can gain 100 Fury every time you refresh the Walking Arsenal passive. You're never going to play Walking Arsenal. They didn't buff up Banish Lord's effect, although they bushed up the stats, I imagine. I don't think I have the new Death Speakers. I think I only have the old Death Speakers, which I'm kind of glad, because the new Death Speakers sucks. Mother's Embrace. I have a new Mother's Embrace, don't I? Or not. I guess not. They took the crit damage and made it crit chance, if I remember correctly. It's still dog shit. You're still never running it. This is old Fist of Fate. I need to move this into the legacy bin. I guess the new Great Staff of the Crone is okay, if I remember correctly. How they reworked this, they changed the claw to basic attacks. It's fine, I guess. It's not great. And I haven't seen too many of the new uniques. The Shadow nerf here on Magnum Opus is terrible, because you lose 10 Fury per second now with this weapon, which means it's utterly useless. But it is what it is. What's the Legacy tab? Do I have anything new in here? Razor Plates, Mutilator, Hagara. This is the new Ancient Oath. This to me is fine, I guess. It's already hard enough to fit Ancient's Oath in a build, so I guess it's okay as it stands. I'm personally not the biggest fan. I really wish that this is a one-hander more than a two-hander, and I could justify using this more. Where's new Field of Crimson? Here we go. This is the new Field of Crimson. Damage to bleeding, strength, enhanced rupture, rupture cooldown. The stats on it are okay, but I do miss ranks of rupture in there instead, especially instead of rupture explosion size. And I do miss its old effect. I don't like its new effect. I don't think this is the new one. Yeah, because that's got claw on it, so that's not the new one. This is new Rayman the Infinite. This is absolutely dog shit, because they took the maximum life off of it for no reason, and now Glass Cannon can roll up to 2 for no reason. Yeah, if I was ever gonna run Rayman the Infinite, I'm sure as shit not running it now. This is an old Butcher Cleaver, because I won't use the new Butcher Cleaver. Let me move this to Legacy, so I don't lose it. Here's the new Frostburn, which of course rolled low. Duh. 40% lucky hit to deal fire, 40% lucky hit to deal cold, bonus fire cold, bonus attack speed. Is this gonna see play in a Frozen build? No, of course not. It's just not good enough. Gora's is okay. I think Gora's is in the same condition it was in before. Pain Gouger's got a nerf in my opinion. The +3 to basics really neutered it, losing the basic skill damage. Attack speed's okay, cooldown reduction's okay, the lucky hit chance to stun is terrible. I don't understand why they had to neuter this when it already wasn't seeing play. There is no reason to run this unless you are running a super basic hit build. And even then, that's hard to justify. Penitent Greaves is a little bit better than before, mostly because you get crit against Chill and Chill Potency. Other than that, it's the same dog shit as it was before. That's gonna go to Legacy. The new Ring of Mendelin, this is the old one. I'm going to need to move this one for safekeeping. The new Ring of Mendelin is better than the old Ring of Mendelin. I will say that. I do miss minion life on it, but I'm glad with the change that they gave it. So I'm not going to complain too much. All in all, I think they need to really rebalance the uniques, and I think they need to do some more balance changes, but I am happy with some of the changes they're doing.